On this episode of Property Journal, I'm talking with Mark Wright. Mark became a household name in 2014, successfully winning the 10th series of the BBC's The Apprentice. Mark has admitted he was literally broke when he entered the programme, so I'm fascinated to find out about his mindset and approach to what ultimately was a victorious and life-changing experience, becoming a business partner of Lord Alan Sugar. Clearly his drive and entrepreneurial flair has been able to thrive as a self-taught digital marketing founder of Climb Online, one of the UK's fastest growing digital marketing agencies. To date, Climb Online is the most successful business to have been founded by an apprentice winner. And with its sale at the end of last year, Mark has achieved a successful 8-figure business exit. And it feels to me like this is just the beginning. I'm really looking forward to talking with Mark. Mark, welcome.
John, good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Tell me, who is Mark Wright?
That's a question I'm trying to establish every day, John, if I'm completely honest. But as you can tell by my accent, I'm from a country that's a lot better at rugby and cricket than this one. So I'm from Australia.
I'm not arguing.
The Ashes is it's up in the air. So listen, I came over here, I'm sitting here in the UK. I've been here 12 years almost to the day. When I left Australia 12 years ago, I couldn't imagine the journey that has happened in the last 12 years, and I'm thankful every day of what has happened. But when I came here, I was a bit lost. I was a personal trainer in Australia. When I grew up, when I was a little boy, all I wanted to do was be a socceroo, be a footballer.
Cool.
That was my goal, and it didn't happen. And when I realised when I was 18, when I lost my semi-professional football contract, I had no idea, because I'd always banked on that one goal. I just was so focused on being a footballer that when that didn't happen, I had no idea who I was or what I wanted to be. And I was completely lost at that time. So I was living in Brisbane. I grew up in a small town with just a few thousand people called Armidale in New South Wales in Australia. Cool. Moved to Brisbane, had 3 million people, became a personal trainer. And I started working as a personal trainer because I loved health and fitness from the footballing profession. And I realised it was trading my time for money. It was a lot of time working with people all day and not making much money. And I started training a really rich, one of the richest men in the state at the time. And I said to him, Dave, how do I make money? And he said, the people who make money are in sales and marketing. I was like, okay, well, I've just become a personal trainer. So I quit my job as a personal trainer and I went to work at the college where I did my personal training certificate.
Yep.
And I realised they'd invented a system where you could upload the curriculum and study it anywhere in Australia, and it was amazing. But the company wasn't doing well in sales. And I said to the guy, well, we need more sales, this is great. And he said, well, I don't really understand about marketing. So I taught myself how to do SEO and pay-per-click and drive traffic to the website. And that's really where, for the first time in my life, it clicked, and I understood that I was going to be a marketeer, and everything sort of came together from that.
Awesome. And now you've come over to the UK.
Yeah.
And that brings you probably to The Apprentice.
Well, yeah, 2012, I did what every Australian does, the backpack on, few pairs of jeans, shirts, all the rest of it. Came over here, I had 173 pounds when I landed in London. And actually, I was living in a hostel just down the road from where we are right now, in Victoria, called the White Ferry House. Had 170 quid. I door knocked businesses until I got a job as a tele-sales operator selling Google ads over the phone. And I worked for a company with 500 employees. The way they treated their staff was disgraceful. The way they treated their staff and customers was just horrendous. So I put together a business plan for what I thought would be an ethical, great company. Took it to 4 banks, couldn't get a loan because I was from Australia, wasn't from here. So a friend said to me, why don't you try out for The Apprentice? I said, what's The Apprentice? He said, it's a TV show where an old man yells at you. I said,
you're like, great.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So I went with my friend Blake to the tryouts for The Apprentice in 2014. 75,000 people tried out for that year on the show. It was the 10th series, so they let 20 contestants on. I was one of the 20 contestants that got into the process. I was the winner of the show. And in 2014, I became Lord Sugar's business partner and the 10th winner of the show.
I'd love to know about your mindset and the whole attitude from applying to going through the journey of actually being selected, which in itself is success, to then actually winning. Just tell me what you was going through your brain, how you prepared for it.
I think there's several things in life that you know this is for you. There's been several things in my life where I've gone to an opportunity, a job interview, a date or something, and it felt wrong. As soon as I got there, I just felt it wasn't going to work out. From the moment I walked through the doors at the tryouts of The Apprentice, I knew I was going to win. It's so hard to describe. I'm not like that religious or anything like that, but I knew as soon as I walked in the door, I'm going to win this thing. Like I just knew it in my bones, in my body, and I don't know if I was just being naive, but I knew from the moment I walked in, and the lady on reception, I handed my CV and my business plan to check in. And I said, "Hi, my name's Mark Wright. I'm the winner of the 2014 Apprentice." And she laughed at me. It must have been about the 45th time she'd heard that day. And that lady, on the night that I won, she came into the makeup in the BBC studio and she said, "You're the guy who told me you were going to win 6 months ago." And I was like, "I am."
Love it.
This was amazing.
Had you always been naturally positive and confident? Because you need that in spades, right? The competition is just so competitive.
I think I'm a glass half full person. My parents have always said I've lived with my heart on my sleeve all the time. I'm a very emotional, very positive, upbeat person. I always see the opportunity in absolutely everything, and I think that's why I've made a good businessman and a good investor in things. But I just felt that this was the opportunity came at the right time in my life, and I knew I was going to win it, and I took it serious. I think one of the things when I went into the house, there was drinks at night, there was lots of people sort of maybe hooking up with one another and all these types of things, and I understood that it was a game. So from the moment I went into the house, I wasn't just playing the game when the cameras were on. I was playing the game 24/7. I'll give you an example. I was the first in bed at night. I was the first up in the morning. I didn't drink. I didn't get with anyone in the house or anything.
Kept the best version of yourself that you could be, basically.
I was focused.
Yeah.
And I knew that everything was being fed back to Alan Sugar. And if I can't sacrifice, 9 weeks of my life to win a program, I'm not going to be a very good businessman.
No.
And that focus and drive and determination is actually what they're looking for. And I think it was the work that I did behind the camera that actually contributed half to winning the program.
And of course, there's so much talk about that now in podcasts and self-development books. It's the consistency. Something I've spent some time on just learning myself, actually. Do you spend any time on that? Do you spend any time listening to podcasts and actually self-development books? And can you recommend any that have really influenced you?
Well, I'm dyslexic. I can't read and write very well at all. And I didn't even know I was dyslexic until I left school. So that probably was a good reminder of why I got the grades that I got. But someone said to me, "Listen, if you want to be," I just always wanted to, I was fascinated with money and fascinated with business. And they said, "Well, you're never going to be good at business. You're never going to have money if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
So you need to learn this stuff." And I was like, "Well, I can't read." So I started listening to audiobooks.
Okay.
I started listening to my first audiobook in 2012, and I tried to listen to at least one a month. Now I try and do one a week. Since I've listened to audiobooks, I've tripled my income every year. Since I started.
So it's compounding.
It's compounding exponentially. Cool. And if you want to earn more, you've got to learn more, right? And ever since I started listening to books and learning about business, marketing, motivation, fitness, health, all of this stuff, my life has completely changed. The best book I've ever read is The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho.
Yep.
Amazing book. Changed my whole mindset about just life in general, but for my business as well. Think and Grow Rich is the holy grail in terms of business stuff. And I've just read David Goggins' books. They are a different level. Something about that, one on a fitness level spoke to me, but on a mindset level about when you think you're done, you're only about 40% done. There is so much more in the tank of your mind and your body than you even know is available. But we've got to a point in society today and in life today where we don't hardly push ourselves.
We've made it comfortable.
Everyone in life in society is pretty much in their comfort zone. And we can only go as fast as the slowest ship, right? And so we're walking around in this mediocrity, in this comfort zone. And if just a few of us can push the boat out a little harder, I think you can pretty much achieve whatever you want while you're here.
That's so inspiring. I love that. What was it like working with Alan Sugar?
A baptism of fire. I mean, his brand of mentoring, and it is mentoring, isn't for everyone. I mean, if you look at the 14 or 15 apprentice winners, there's only 2 or 3 left now. It is hardcore. He's all over you. Everyone says to me, "Well, how much do you get to see Alan Sugar? Does he just invest in you and you never hear from him again?" When I first started, it was daily. WhatsApps, calls, coming into the office. yelling at me, standing over the desk, that sort of stuff.
Did you like that though? Did you want that? Because that's proper mentoring, right?
It.
Yeah,
I
perfect.
absolutely loved it. I'm competitive from my sporting days. There's another apprentice winner called Ricky Martin, and him and I are, he's a red rag to a bull, very similar personality, very competitive guy, has a good business, I'd never tell him that. And Alan Sugar cottoned onto this, and he used to say, well, Mark, Ricky's numbers are better this month. You're not going to, and it was always in a competition with the other apprentice winners. And I thought I won the apprentice, I'd done the job. That was only just getting started. Then he starts to compare you with the other winners. Yeah. Well, you're the third best winner. You're the fourth best winner. Now for me,
rag to the bull.
That is just, well, I want to be, not only do I want to be a winner, I want to be the best winner of all time, because that's how, you know, the money and all of that stuff is great, fine. Yeah. What is important to me is holding myself accountable to me, and I want to be the best every day to myself. And if he tells me you're third best winner, that is, I've got to be number one.
No sleep tonight.
Exactly. So his mentoring is competitive mentoring. It's hardcore. There's a lot of swearing. There's a lot of home truths about what you need to improve, and it isn't for everyone. No. You've got to be a pretty resilient individual to work with him, but the things I've learned from him have made me a very, very wealthy man, and have made my business skills incredibly attuned to what's going on in the world at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of warmth there when you talk about him. I can tell you've got a lot of respect.
I owe him a lot, and I respect him a lot.
And you still speak to him regularly?
Regularly. Awesome. And I'll always, the opportunity he gave me changed my life, and I'll always owe him that.
Yeah. You've actually just achieved the one thing that every entrepreneur typically aspires to do, and that's exit a business successfully.
Yes.
So firstly, congrats on that.
Thank you.
And for big numbers, 9 figures, right? Yeah. So how involved was Alan in that, with all his experience of exiting? And then I'd love to know what you're going to do next.
Well, the best thing about having a great mentor like Alan Sugar is not so much what he teaches you, and he does teach you a lot, it's the team he puts around you. If you looked at my board, we had people on there that had sold over 100 companies for, you know, some over 100 million, 50 million, 80 million. If you look at most companies, they're never going to sell, because who on their board sold a company? Who on their board's listed a company to go public? They're not surrounded with people who can coach and train them for success. On my board, I had all of the tools, accountants, lawyers, all of that to sell the company. Yeah. So the team he assembled around me was, I think, key. The due diligence process was hard, the negotiation was hard, but having him say, you've got to ring them and say this, in this email you write this, really got us across the line quickly, and it got us across for big numbers. Yeah. So that was really positive. But what I didn't realize was the feeling you get when you sell a company. I thought you get this big money in your bank account and it feels amazing. You get the money, and then you feel like you've given one of your children away. I spent 8.5 years building that company into the reputation and the business that it is today. And I was out the door the following Wednesday with my box, giving my lanyard and email account back, and it felt like I'd lost a limb.
Yeah, lost your identity a little bit.
Yeah, so it took a bit of catching my breath, feeling out what I'm going to do next. Who am I now? You know, am I just money now? Who is this person? What's going to identify me? Because a lot of people identify themselves as what they do. Yeah. That isn't who you are. What you do isn't who you are. It's the person beneath all of that. But actually, most of us are walking around as, I'm this person. I'm a photographer. I'm a businessman. I run this business. But it's, who are you after that? And I had to find that.
You've achieved success getting into the Apprentice, the 20, let alone then winning it, then the success you've had since. How do you define success now? And I bet it's totally different to what it was pre-2014 and through this journey.
Success for me means happiness. And I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but I've realized after accomplishing so much in the business world and in the financial aspects of things that you cannot glean any happiness out of that stuff. It's important. Money doesn't buy happiness, it really doesn't, but it is important to life. Yeah. And I really disagree with people that say that money isn't important, because I think they're people just not capable of making money. In my experience, it is important to focus and do well in your career and focus on things, but people that have goals and are looking to achieve those goals are determined, focused individuals, and they're always better to be around. And happiness is key to life. If you can look after your mind, you look after your body, you look after your financial health, you'll be happy. And when you're happy, life is an enjoyable experience. So it's working towards something every day to make you feel fulfilled.
Yeah. And resonating from you right now is happiness. It's a non-arrogant way. It's like a content. You've found a peace through so many different things you've done and researched and learned and experienced that exudes that.
Yeah, and some days you're happy, some days you're not. It's all sort of fine. But as long as the goal is working towards being happy within yourself, because there's no good sitting on a super yacht or in your private jet and being depressed.
No.
That's not what the game is about. No. The game is about working towards something, feeling fulfilled and feeling happy.
Yeah. There's a lot of things we can do, both from a physical point of view and a mental point of view, to try and make sure that we're being the best version of ourselves. We're actually filming in the Jack, J-A-A-Q, Just Ask a Question, social media platform. What do you think of Jack?
We were speaking about this earlier. I get sent business opportunities, investment decks, new companies on the scene in London. I get 3 or 4 a day.
Yeah.
Jack is the best I've seen in the last 5 years. The platform itself is incredible. The experts on there, both on the board and that record the video messages, are 10 out of 10. I mean, some of them are heroes of mine that are recording information and sitting on the board. This is a property and business show, right? You cannot run a good property portfolio or a business if your mind is not right. The most important thing to your life is your health, both physically and mentally. And if you don't look after that first and foremost, you can't look after your family and you can't look after your businesses. And I didn't understand that until I started to lose that health a bit, and I had to go back to step one. Looking after your fitness, looking after your mind has to become first. You know, in the plane, when the plane's crashing, you put your own oxygen mask on before you help someone else.
Yeah.
A lot of us haven't got that lesson. No. We look after our family, we look after our employees, we look after everyone else and realize, I'm overweight, I don't feel right, what's going on? And if we all step back and work on ourselves first, everything else goes better. And that's what I like about Jack.
Oh, that's awesome. And related to you, so you mentioned that in your past you've been a personal trainer. You can tell you keep fit, and we know that there's all sorts of things.
Made my day, by the way.
And mentally strong as well. But what works for you? And I'm specific to like cold showers, to yoga, to going for a run. What are the things that you consistently try and do that work for you?
I try to keep it very basic, and I don't get it right at all, and I don't get it perfect. I get it wrong more than I get it right. But I try to sweat once a day. And I try to do something that in my mind challenges me.
Yep.
So last night I did a circuit and I did more burpees than I've ever done, and I hated it. But
You're in pain now?
I'm in pain now. But in my mind, I wanted to stop and I wanted to give up. And that's what I'm looking for every day.
Yeah.
I want to push myself to the point where I don't want to do something and I want to give up, and then I do it anyway.
And you vary it every day.
And I vary it every day. Tonight will be swimming, tomorrow will be another circuit or boxing. And what I'm looking for, and this is what I found in business, is there's more hard days than good ones. And the reason most businesses fail is not because it's a bad business, the owner simply gives up, the shareholders give up on it. If in fitness, with your mind, with your physical health, or with your business, if you can learn that it's gonna be tough, I promise you it's gonna be tough in business, you're gonna wanna give up, but then what do? What happens if you don't give up? What happens if you just do it anyway? You keep turning up. Oh, we lost some money, we made some money, doesn't matter. Oh, this guy quit. The shareholders wants his money back. Okay, that's what we're all dealing with. We've got to deal with it anyway. And if you can handle pressure in business, you will be successful and you'll make money. And I get that resilience in my mind from what I do in the gym, because I go there every day and make my life hell. And then I'm actually training in the gym for my mind, nothing else, because I've learned that is now reflective on everything else I do in the day.
I love that. Love that. You've recently become a dad.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's the best feeling ever, right?
It's the best.
Dad of 2 daughters. So now you've got a situation where you're juggling. You know, it's you've got your sort of mind distracted with mini-me.
Yeah.
And you're probably at an opportunity time to look at new businesses and so on. How are you going about juggling life, family, work?
It's a struggle, but it comes back to planning. I've got a brilliant partner, my fiance, we sat down and we said, well, how are we going to work this? Because I want to feel like I can go and be the successful entrepreneur, because that's what inspires me and makes me happy to do that. But I want to be a good dad as well, and I want to be a good partner. So how do I do all of that? So what we've said is I get from 5 a.m. in the morning till 9 is I'm on dad duty. So whenever that time is available, I'm 100% with my son, and it's the best time. He's happy, he's energetic in that time, so am I. And then from 9 o'clock for the rest of the day, I can go be successful businessman Mark. And that's worked really well for me. And it was just sitting down in almost a formal way with my partner and saying, what do I want and what does she want and what will we both accept?
So many people don't do that.
And that's that. I think what breaks down relationships and happiness is ambiguity. What do you want? What do I want? And if you don't know what your partner wants, or she doesn't know what you want, how can you be happy? And you're just sort of misaligning your goals. So I told her, I need to be a successful entrepreneur, because that's who I am and what makes me happy. And to do that, I need to work from 9 a.m. for the rest of the day. And that could be sometimes all night till 10 o'clock. Sometimes I could be finished at 6, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I need that time. But I still want to be a good dad. And that planning has been groundbreaking in our success so far.
No, well done.
So far.
Honestly, some people don't do it. And also you're making the time, as you've already said, to have a swim at the end of the day, or do the things that keep you fit, keep you mentally fit.
And by the way, that swim or the boxing or the PT session is prioritized as the £100 million deal. Because I got that wrong initially. I used to sacrifice the gym if I had an important meeting that come up or an investor call or whatever, and I was getting overweight, I was getting really unhealthy, I was getting really unhappy. That time in the gym is scheduled in as work. And that's, in my mind, it's as important as any meeting I've got today, because that meeting is for me to continue to be able to be successul.
But nothing happens without you, right?
This is the point. I didn't realize that until about 5 years into my journey.
Yeah. I've found that the last few years, just realizing the things that you've made happen and you still want to make happen, nothing happens unless I look after myself. And so
that's the most important thing we've said today. If you can just step back and realize that, look after yourself first. Being selfish is far more, we're taught that being selfish is bad. Being selfish, since you're a little kid, being selfish is negative, it's bad people do that. It should be the other way around. We should all be selfish first, and then we can look after everyone else.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Even though selfish doesn't sound great, especially as an Englishman, because we're so self-deprecating, but I've had to put the time in for myself to then get the best out of myself, whereas it's easy to sometimes be doing more work, more things for other people that maybe, is at the detriment of myself, and then I'm no good the next day or what I'm trying to achieve. So
how can you look after your family if you're dead?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Health as well.
You can't. You have to be here to help others. And that's what I keep reminding myself.
I'd love to know what you're working on. What's next for you?
I've got a lot going on. I mean, my brother and I have just started a small airline out in Australia.
A small airline?
Yeah. Love it. So that's keeping us really busy. And
is there a USP to that? Is that of interest? Is there a niche that it...
We're one of the very few operators in North Queensland in Australia that we can service goods out into the outback. We can train other pilots because they've got a huge shortage of pilots in that area. So it's a needs must business, and it's a high barrier to entry, which I like. But I'm quickly learning in the aviation game, the way to make a small fortune is start with a big one. It is an expensive, crazy, stressful game, but I'm loving the challenge of that industry. So that's cool. But it's more about doing stuff, trying things. I felt like when I started in the marketing space, I was going to lots of meetings, I was meeting lots of people, I was trying lots of stuff, and that's how I found success. I feel in a lot of ways I'm back to that, sitting in lots. That's how I found Jack. That's how I found yourself. That's how I found the airline. Meeting lots of people brings interesting opportunities. And if you're sitting there and you're bored in your career, or you're not sure what's next, start saying yes to things. Start getting yourself out there.
And get out of the comfort zone.
Get out of my boxing coach.
That's how we've ultimately met.
Get out of your comfort zone. If you get outside, and by the way, the answer's seldom on a computer. Go and meet people, go to networking events, go to business conferences, go to the Excel and see what's on. Just start meeting people, exchanging your cards, exchanging LinkedIn, and you'll be shocked how quickly your environment changes. Alan Sugar said to me on my third day working for him that you do property to make money and you do business for fun. And that's what led me to starting my property company and doing my portfolio there. But just getting yourself out there, trying different things, you will be shocked at the different life you can have and how quickly that life will take place. So challenge yourself, push yourself to do one thing a day that makes you feel uncomfortable. That could be going to the gym, a networking meeting, doing a speaking course. Just do something. Go on someone's podcast, start your own podcast. I think so many people just leave themselves living lives that are just so unfulfilled because they're not pushing themselves and they're worried about feeling uncomfortable. If you're not going to push yourself into an environment where you feel uncomfortable, you'll never find success in anything.
No, that's awesome. You touched on property. You touched on the fact that that sounds like a relatively passive for someone that I can tell is so hands-on. Tell me about how you've gone about building that portfolio and how you might go about investing in other businesses and how much involvement you'll have in that.
Well, I spoke at a property conference recently as a marketing and business speaker, and I was listening to the guys chat, and I realized quite quickly I had the most properties in the whole room. So I don't see myself as a property person or an investor. It just turns out over time, I've just grew quite a big portfolio.
Yeah.
And that's purely from the mentoring and stuff that I've had from my mentors and coaches. Yeah. And basically, they've all said that they use property as their banks, really. You'd rather invest in a physical asset like property that cash flows, that goes up over time and history, and it's reliable. So every dividend I've made from my trading companies, like my advertising company or my PR company, I go and buy property with it. It started with buy-to-lets.
Very smart.
Now into holidays, HMOs, all of that sort of stuff. And it's doing very, very, very well. Very well. And I call property get rich slow.
Yeah.
Get rich very slow.
But consistent.
But it's consistent. Yeah. And I like it because it diversifies my holdings. Yeah. I like it because despite what everyone says, it's actually quite easy. It's just slow and boring compared to business, trading business. Yeah. Because planning and all these things are frustrating. They take time. You need experts. But if you assemble a team, the right team, it kind of can take care for itself. I don't like the property guys that talk about, no money down and all of this sort of stuff. I think they make it sound like a get rich quick easy thing. It's not easy. No. It's not hard. It's somewhere in the middle. It's about having a bit of money up front, having the right team around you,
and strategy,
finding the right deals. Find the right deals, have the right strategy, but go into property with a long horizon window and you'll do really well. If you want to get rich tomorrow, don't get into property because you'll rush, you'll buy the wrong deals, you'll get in bed with the wrong people. It's a disaster. Yeah. And that's the biggest risk to property and there's the biggest reward as well.
Yeah, that's mega advice. All your advice has been amazing. And I don't want it to end now, but that's all we've got time for. I have loved talking to you.
That went so quick.
I know.
John, great to see you. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.